And I want to say to you that are here today who took time out to come and support this event, this grand occasion, welcome. Welcome to this historic event celebrating women and especially women with disabilities. I think we need to pause and just give a hand for their efforts. Some of you may be wondering or have asked the question, well, why is a man leading this women's event? Well, it's because, first of all, I was asked to do so. Second of all, I believe in the grace, intelligence, and power of women, and I believe that it is important or imperative to show that men support and celebrate women. So here I am. Honoring women of success. I truly believe that women are God's gift to man and God's gift to this world. Can I get a witness? I'm sure that you have noticed all the posters and flyers in the hallways and even around in here for this event. And on those posters, you will find three famous women with disabilities. The first one we discover is Frida Kahlo, a world-famous Mexican artist, was born with spina bifida and later developed polio. The second woman you will find on the posters are Whoopi Goldberg, a famous actress, had a learning disability as well, and struggled with reading all throughout her school years. She was labeled as dumb and dropped out of school. Thirdly, Barbara Jordan was the first Southern African-American and first Southern woman elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. She had multiple sclerosis. We have an exciting group of women of power speakers for you today. Secondly, we will have a break after each speaker for you to move about the information tables and get some food. And I know some of you are here because of the food. Then after the last speaker, they will form a panel and answer any questions that you may have. And so without further ado, allow me to introduce your first speaker for this afternoon. Our first speaker is Stacy Milburn, Director of Programs for Berkeley Center for Independent Living, and has been appointed by President Obama for a committee for people with intellectual disabilities. So will you just please join me in welcoming her to the podium, Miss Stacy Milburn.
So thank you for having me. I'm so excited to come and meet with you all. Talking about gender and disability and race and class is one of my favorite things, and I just feel really honored to be a part of this event. So a little bit about myself. I'm currently working as the Director of Programs at the Center for Independent Living. I'm 28 years old and I supervise about 16 people. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic because most of the people I work with are older than me. And I'm always thinking about leadership and how do I have integrity about what I think is right, even if I might be nervous about what other people think. I grew up in North Carolina on an Army base, and I moved to California about 4 years ago. I came out here because my local community wasn't very accessible to me, so it was really difficult to have the kind of life that I imagined for myself. First, I knew that as a gay person, I wanted to be somewhere where I could be out about who I am and not have to hide it. And then the second part of that is I wanted to live in a community that would be wheelchair accessible so that I'd be able to get out of my house. So I moved here to the Bay Area and I've been doing local work ever since. So how many people have heard about the Center for Independent Living? Oh, a lot of hands, great. So CIL was founded 40 years ago. And it's a little bit of an interesting story because a young man named Ed Roberts was told by the Department of Rehab that his disability was too severe and that he wouldn't be able to receive their services because he was unemployable. So they were saying that you're too disabled to be employable. But he really advocated to go to college, and he was accepted to UC Berkeley. And at the time, the only way he could go is if he agreed to live in the nurses' ward. And so he lived in kind of like a hospital setting. But soon other people with physical disabilities wanted to be like him and also started going to Cal. So there was a whole nurses' ward where students who used wheelchairs and had mobility disabilities, to them it was a dorm, but to the nurses it was a hospital. And so it's kind of interesting to imagine what their life might have been like with keggers and things like that. But they started serving each other and helping people find resources. And soon they started working with the community because local people also needed those same resources, not just students. So they applied for federal funding to start an independent living center. And the model was so popular that now there's 500 around the country. But here in the Bay Area, we have the first one. So we serve about 1,000 people a year. We work with people to help them look for employment. Now we're helping people apply for college, things like that, but mostly focused around becoming independent and living the life we want. And through CIL's work, we've had a lot of success. Now any person with any type of disability, or even if you're perceived to have a disability, or you're a family member of someone with a disability, you're now protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is huge. We have now most civil rights than we've ever had historically. And another big shift is, for the longest time, people with disabilities, especially like psychiatric disabilities, were put away in institutions. And now, because of the disability rights movement, we're saying everybody deserves the right to live in the community. You shouldn't have to be put in an institution. So, today I wanted to share a little bit of things that I've learned as a woman with a disability. But before I did that, I wanted to ask Twitter what they thought. So I asked people, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? And then these are the responses I got. So I was also surprised to find everybody that responded identified as a woman, and most of them identified as having disabilities. So I thought that was interesting. But this person says, read more, fight a little harder, and I should have asked that one guy out, LOL. So next one. This person said, quit smoking. Love yourself first before trying to be in a relationship. That's a good one. This person said, apply for as many scholarships as possible. Tell that guy how you feel. This person said, travel somehow while you're young. Get a passport, learn a language, study abroad. This person said, move out of your parents' house sooner. And then she added, of course, I was only just 20 almost 2 years ago, so LOL. Let's see, next. This person said, Stop being such a dumbass. Oh, and despite what your parents say, you are disabled, you have physical limitations, and it's okay. This person said, get out of that relationship before it eats you alive and sends you down the wrong path. This person said, your parents are smarter than you. Listen to them. So, right, it's all good advice. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I was really happy with the response. So here is what I wanted to share with you all. So number one, no one is broken. No one is a burden. Reject that lie and create reminders for yourself. So for me, and a lot of people with disabilities, I've spent my whole life kind of feeling like I'm the last one at the table. Everyone has to change what they're doing for me. I need to make myself like as little as possible, try to take up the least amount of space. But really, a lot of that is perpetuated by ableism. So a system of oppression that favors able-bodiedness at the expense of people with disabilities. And if we think about it, being human is enough to have civil rights or to be worth something, to have value. And I feel like that's something I know intellectually, but it's hard to practice. And so the advice I would give is do whatever you can to create those reminders. If you have a learning disability, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to go to college. That means that you should have the accommodations that you need so that you can participate equally. We have a right to be here, and we should exercise that right. So the next one, and then so there's two images on the screen. The first one is by an organization called Sins Invalid, and it has my friend Leroy on it. And it says, all bodies are unique and essential. All bodies are whole. All bodies have strengths and needs that must be met. We are powerful, not despite the complexities of our bodies, but because of them. We move together with no one left behind. This is disability justice. And then on the right, there's a photo that says, Black Lives Matter, because at the heart of everything, we're talking about human beings that our life means something and that we should be treated because of it. So next. The second thing I've learned is that complacency is the default, and we have to push past it. So I hate this statistic, but for people with disabilities, the employment rate in the last 40 years has only shifted 1%. So that means for a lot of people in this room, when you go to work, you might be the only person like you there. You might be the first one asking for accommodations. And it really sucks, right? That there aren't models out there of people doing it. But that's just the reality that we're going to be the front runners. And so with that reality, there comes kind of a responsibility to think of the people who's going to come in your steps. And then part of that reality also means that a lot of times when we go to work, we're probably going to have to work 3 times harder than everybody else just to get what people have. And that's the same in the classroom. You might have to study with your accommodation twice as hard as everybody else. But doing that work is what makes a difference. It's going to be what shifts that 1%. So this third one says, say yes whenever possible. Say yes to new opportunities, to working hard to learn a skill, and to do someone else a favor. Chase after the yeses. For many women, saying no is often just as important. Trust your gut. So I feel like this is something I'm constantly learning, but let's see. So when I was in high school, I became really passionate about disability rights. I had spent my whole childhood trying to pretend that I didn't have a disability, which is ridiculous because look at me, right? But I did a lot of like separating myself from other people, just trying really hard to assimilate. And what made the difference for me was I went to a conference and I learned, holy crap, everything that I enjoy right now is because of other people who fought for it. So I'm able to ride the bus here because people with disabilities chain themselves to buses and refuse to unchain themselves until buses were made accessible. I'm able to use curb cuts because when people with disabilities were told that curb cuts would be installed during the next construction round, they went in the middle of the night with sledgehammers and broke all the sidewalks. I'm here because of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This July, we're celebrating the 25th anniversary. That was passed because millions of Americans with disabilities and their families organized around all 50 states and really pushed for it to be passed under a Republican president. So all of these things were happening because other people did the work, and so I want to continue that work and say yes when possible. At the same time, if your gut is saying no, follow that gut. So we're all here where we are because we're survivors. All kinds of things have happened. And what's kept us alive is what our gut says. So for example, if your gut says leave a situation, then honor that something about your body and who you are has kind of taught you your instincts. If it says stay, stay, but you know, so knowing when to say no to is equally as important. So number 4, relationships are complicated, but interdependence is a necessary reality. There are ways to have interdependence and personal agency. You do not have to give up yourself to keep your needs met. So I grew up in a family where needing personal care, and so a lot of my family members took care of me, and that's how I was able to get out of bed and all the things like that. And when I decided to move out, my mom told me that nobody would ever love me like they did, and nobody would ever take care of me. But that's a distorted reality. For me, there's services to help me. I can hire people. So that's not true. And then when I moved out here, I kind of got involved in relationships and family that weren't that great. And I stayed through so many things because I needed other people to understand me and other people to help me meet my needs. But you don't have to do that. You can have agency and have power over your life and still have relationships with people. You don't have to give up yourself just to get your needs met. So that's been a big lesson I've learned. So yeah. So we're gonna do an activity. Yana has some paper and we're gonna pass out the paper. If you already have paper, feel free to use that. And what we're gonna do is ask you to answer the prompt. What advice would you give your younger self? And it's scrap paper, so there's flyers and information on the other side. But what advice would you give your younger self? And then you're gonna hold it up and give it to someone in the room that you don't know yet. Okay, so if you feel compelled, you can stand up and share yours. I'm gonna read the one that was passed me. So this person would advise her younger self to listen more, finish what you start, respect yourself and family, because you only have one you and one family. That's good. That's good. Anybody else want to share? I see it. Oh yeah, great.
Love and accept yourself exactly the way you are.
Love and accept yourself exactly the way you are. Thank you. Yes, way in the back. I didn't catch that.
Stay far away from drugs.
Stay far away from drugs. That's really good. Thank you. Yes.
So I would tell myself to work harder in school, go to college, listen to my dad more, give my mother sooner, let go of the anger, save all of that money you're making. Procrastination is the devil. Stay consistent.
Anyone else?
Back here.
What advice will I give my younger self? I take more risks and trust my instincts.
Ooh, good.
What advice I'll give to myself? Don't fall in love ever in your life. Love is not good for nobody.
Yes.
Laugh way more, dance, and eat more ice cream.
Any last ones? Oh, great.
Mine says, what advice would you give your younger self? Love, love, love.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, one more.
All right, this one says, don't hate the world for the grief that it gives you. Instead, love it for the good that is still in you.
One more back here.
Mine says, don't be afraid to voice your opinion and don't hold yourself to others' standards.
That's good. Thank you, everyone. So let's take these words home with us and
One more.
Not too late to put to practice.
One more, if that's okay.
If you know something isn't right for you, I mean, it is unfair to stand for yourself.
Can you say it one more time?
If you know something isn't right or is it unfair, stand up for yourself.
That's good. Thank you.
Don't set expectations because you will, or it feels like you set yourself up for disappointment.
One more. We have one more.
Well, I see another hand too. We can take two more.
Okay, last one.
My name is Henry Barnes. I'm 58 years old. I lately became disabled, and here I found a safety zone here at Merritt College. I'm going to start a brand new life as a person that's recently became disabled.
Thank you.
And so as we get ready to move forward with the program, we have another speaker. What can I say about this individual? First of all, I will say that she is an extraordinary woman who have a very supportive husband. She is a woman of character, a woman who pays attention to detail, very articulate, and she is dedicated to her work. She is exceptional in the area of disability. She is a disability specialist. She is an advisor for Phi Theta Kappa. Her name is Barbara Demopoulos. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium. Come on, let's do better than that.
Thank you, Jerry. That was a lovely introduction. I'm so glad to see so many faces out there, and not just women, but also men. When Jennifer Hughes asked me to speak today, I said, fine, what would you like me to speak about? She says, we want somebody who's inspirational. Inspirational? That's kind of a big ticket item here. But I accepted. And just to let you know, this is the first time I've ever been asked to speak at a special function like this at Merritt College. And I have been here now for 20 years as a learning disability specialist. But how did I get here? I am one of 8 children. I have an older brother, and I have a baby brother. And there are 5 younger sisters after me. I was the first to graduate, or the first to graduate from high school and attend college. I found out when I was 17, I was considered a minority student. That was news to me. But the recruiter for Santa Clara University came to our high school, and my teachers put me in that group so that I would not have to pay for the registration fee. When you're in high school, and you know that you learn differently, but you're not sure why, going to a big college like Santa Clara University is a very scary enterprise. And I said to my French teacher and my parents, even if they accept me, how can I afford this? But that was just an excuse. What I was really afraid of is that I would not be able to perform equally as well at that advanced level of academia, knowing some of the learning issues that I had and that I was actually able to cover up most of the time. I did end up going to Santa Clara. I worked full-time in an era where most students were not working full-time, and I attended classes full-time. It was tough. 4 hours of sleep, nobody can survive on that for very long. But I made it. 4 years later, at commencement, I fell asleep. But I did feel as if the weight of the world had been lifted from me, because I had managed to navigate a very unknown place in my life, being the first one to go to college, not having older siblings to help me, show me the way. My parents, neither one had high school education. My dad went to the service. My mother's from Shanghai, China. She came over as a war bride. She never quite acclimated. But because I also have younger siblings, like many of you, I became parentified at an early age. Parentified means you are the responsible person in your family for taking care of your younger brothers and sisters and doing what the parents would normally do for them. It also means being the parents sometimes to your parents. And so, knowing many of your stories, having been here for 20 years, I know that many of you have gone through similar journeys. When I finished my 4-year education, I was so glad to be out, I just went to work. But luckily, I ran into this gentleman here, and he actually asked me out on a date, not knowing that I was actually almost 4.5 years older than he was. I thought about that. This is like an 8th grader going out with a high school senior. That's pretty bad. But it's like a high school senior going out with a high school college, a senior in college. And I thought, But what it really boiled down to was character. Character. And some of you have already talked about that today. Stacy talked about that, character. The character that we have inside ourselves. The age and the gender does not matter. It's the person who's inside you. All of you have a story to tell. I have been listening to your stories for 21 plus years. students with learning disabilities, other disabilities. As a learning disability specialist, I do an intake interview. I've heard stories about women who actually were homeless, came from a different country, homeless, for a year or two, living on the streets, but actually found refuge in one of the libraries at UC Berkeley. That was about 15 years ago. That woman came to Merritt and some of the other Peralta colleges and meandered her way through all of undergrad years, and now this spring will be graduating from UC Berkeley, a place where she used to call home. I've listened to stories from men who were in special education in K through 8th grade, went to high school and dropped out, whose parents forced this young person to go out and steal and go and get their drugs. Did not come back to college until late 20s. Went through my course. Yes, person still had learning disabilities, but was determined because of an incident in which he almost died. He woke up one day in the hospital because he had been beat up, and he was left to die. The only person that took care of this young man, not his family, but there was a very dedicated nurse. Right then and there, this young man told me this is when he decided to come back to school and become a nurse. That person made it through Merritt College, became an honor student, became won the Chancellor's Award for the district, went on to Cal State East Bay, and graduated from the nursing program about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and is now fully employed as a nurse. Again, when I was asked to provide some information about inspiration, my story, my life story, and how I got here today, and how I've become the person I've become, it's because of experiences and knowing all of you, each and every one of you, that I have met along this journey to get to this very spot today. All of you have influenced me and inspired me to become the woman I am today. And especially my lifetime partner. So that's Bill, by the way. Without his support, I wouldn't be here. 4 days after I started my tenure at Merritt in spring of '95, I was involved in a head-on car accident. I didn't realize for about a year that my brain was no longer working the way it used to work. So the person that Merritt College had hired originally in the interviews was not that same person any longer. Ooh, that was kind of tough. Working in this field, you would have thought that I should have seen that coming or noticed that earlier. But minor traumatic brain injury is not something that you can really see. It's inside, just like learning disabilities. I've been able to manage my learning disabilities in math and reading, but then all of a sudden now, at age 45, I was confronted with a different kind of disabling condition. When I did research on it, I found out that people who had been CEOs, bank presidents, had full careers, earning all kinds of money, six-figure income, with this type of diagnosis after internal head injury, they lost everything. They lost their careers, which then ended in divorce. They lost their families, and they were living on the streets. So at that time, I was referred to Department of Rehabilitation. That's one of the resources that I use and refer for my students. And they were having a study about what happens to professionals who have this diagnosis, so I was involved in research for about a year and a half. At the same time, I was given a speech pathologist to help me work through some of the issues I was having with memory. And that was really important to me because I'm a very visual, experiential learner. And even though I started working with students with learning disabilities when I was 35 in a middle school setting, I didn't know quite how to work with students who had suffered brain injury, ABI, acquired brain injury, or MTBI, minor traumatic brain injury. So I guess I needed to experience that for myself. One of the most challenging things to do while I was working here full-time, Sac State part-time, Vista College, which is now Berkeley part-time, I was a really busy person for the first 5 years that I worked at Merritt College. And I was having a hard time juggling everything. So the speech pathologist helped me with some tools and strategies. And of course, I received support from my family, which was really important because I wasn't home about 2 or 3 nights a week. Also, for some of you who don't know, I live in Sacramento. That's about a 173-mile round trip every day that I come. So that adds a little time to my day. But what I want to share with you, I'm not the only one. I'd like to look out here and look at the faces of other faculty, administrators, classified staff who also make the drive every day. And when I let my students know I might be a little late for my 10 o'clock appointment because of traffic, I really do try to make it. But I do appreciate their consideration because I can't really judge traffic 100%. Some of my students have said, well, why do you do this? Who in their right mind would want to come drive all that every day for 20-some years? And the answer has always been the same. Because I can look at each of you and say, because you're worth it. You are worth it. Every single one of you is worth what I go through on a daily basis to get here. The stories that I've heard from you inspire me. They motivate me to continue to do whatever I can to assist students. And in the end, that's the meaning of happiness for me, is that I'm in a place where I feel supported, I have a purpose, and that's important for all of us. No matter what my trials and tribulations have been, or my struggles, or even my successes. It all boils down to being here with all of you for hopefully another few years before I retire to Maui. So, I did find one quote I wanted to share with you about happiness, because all of you have your story. And I know many of you have struggled. It's a daily struggle for you to even be up here at Merritt College, to get on that bus, to want to get out of bed every day, to get here, to do your homework, to try to find the resources that you need. And so I really appreciate your effort. And I hope that other faculty also appreciate that about you, because I know it's not easy. We were all students once, but times have changed. It's a lot more challenging, I think, than it used to be. So in the end, in closing, I would like to say, what happens to you does not matter. What you become through these experiences is all that is significant. This is the true meaning of life. Go out every day and find your own happiness. Thank you.
We have a singer that is coming, but as she was speaking, and as Stacy was speaking, I thought about one thing. I thought about none of us are perfect. All of us have some kind of disability. But in words of encouragement, I want to say to us today that there's no single disability that will stop our overall ability. And at this time, we're going to ask the singer to come render a selection. That's Anita.
How's everybody doing? My voice is kind of messed up, but it's all right. This is Women's History Month, and I thought about the women, I thought about you men, but the song that I chose to do was called Inseparable. So here we go, I might need a little help. Inseparable. That's how we'll always be. Inseparable. I hope y'all out. Just you and me. It's so wonderful to know you'll always be around me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Incredible. That's what every woman in here is, and man, that's what you are to me. Incredible. Instructors, staff, y'all all bring out the woman in me with your style of love. Inseparable. Yes, we are. For the women that always encouraged and gave your children the way to go, you're like a flower to a tree, like words to a melody of love. Love, 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 love. There's no way we can break up. No words that can make us blow our thing. You are incredible. That's how it is, and you're special for the rest of my years. It's so wonderful to know you'll always be around.
Inseparable, incredible. That's what you will always be. Our next speaker is also an incredible woman. I've recently gotten to know her. She's in my Business 5 class. And one thing I noticed about her is that she will, most of the time, speak her mind. And she's a hilarious, funny person and a good person to know. And she is an accomplished student. And that's none other than Centuria Owens. Let's give her a hand as she comes.
Okay, hello everybody, how you doing? I had to prepare a speech, but I left it, and
I forgot it. So I'm just gonna pretty much just do this as a free flow. So I am actually honored. I didn't think I was worthy to speak today. But it's a pleasure, and I hope I at least touch a couple of hearts in here today. So actually, being an African-American woman, you know, we are challenged. You know, and also I take honor in being a facet of one of many. You know, I didn't come from the hood, I came from the suburban area. But that doesn't mean the struggle isn't real. And when I was in high school, I was an overachiever. I took college classes, you know, I did the whole 9 yards. I got in a car accident, and Ms. Demopoulos found my secret last semester. From the injury, years later, the damage was done to where I would black out. I didn't remember things, and occasionally I see things backwards. And she found my secret last semester. But the whole point, what it leads to is you don't give up. You continue to do whatever you need to do. And at the time, I was going to Sac State, you know, when it came to haunt me. I was removed from an X-ray program. I was asked to leave with a 3.6 GPA. And the reason for that, because I missed almost 30 days. And standard is you were only allowed to miss 12. And they let me allowed to miss more days. And some of the students felt like, if she can do it, why can't I? So at a board meeting, I was dismissed. You know, took a heart pounding, joined the military, came out with PTSD. After that, you know, went to a little head trip, whatever, and then owned my own business. And I worked for 5 of the largest companies in the world doing pharmaceutical. I did x-rays because I was able, because what I did do, before I got kicked out, I challenged the state board and I walked out with a partial. That's one of the main reasons why I'm here today, to finish up. So with that and a lot of fast talking, you know, and I got 4 partners, we opened up a business. We did a portable osteoporosis screening, and we also worked for a neutral-based pharmaceutical company to where I connected with the 5 of the largest in the world, and I was the first to pull $2 million contracts, you know, within the organization. So the whole thing is just don't give up. Whatever you guys are going through, just don't stop, because it's imperative, especially being a woman of African descent. You have to, because we're always discriminated. We're the most hated, being honest, people in the world. You know, so don't give in to the lies. You know, whatever your past is, whatever you guys are doing, if it's on a negative trip, you know, try to let that stuff go and try to keep it positive. Because not only for yourself, but also for your ancestors, you know, your peers, whoever is important to you besides yourself, you want to keep it positive. Because, you know, we're always oppressed in one form or another. Being in the classes that I was in, doing the business I was in, I was always introduced or reminded of who I am. And from the family that I came from, we were always taught to work twice as hard and be twice as smart. You know, because reality to it is, we're always given the student stick. We're always put in a box, whether we like it or not. Not just African Americans, but women of color and men as well. But again, we hold the stigma, so we need to learn to break that stuff and continue to move forward in a positive way and help your fellow man and woman. That's what you men can do. Help us out. You know what I mean? Respect yourselves, learn to respect and love us. And, you know, and keep that torch going. That's what you men can do for us. And be that sound force. Whereas you guys will say you're men, act like it and keep it positive. And help us women out. Us black women first. And I'm not saying nothing to any other race, but again, we get the most stigma and we get always the oppression and we're always lied on and we're always in a negative box. We need to cut that stuff out, for real. So, you know, along with just the struggles, you know, in 2009, I lost everything that I earned. I got caught up in the stigma. I had to sell my house. I ran through all my little accounts. I ran through my retirement. I ran through everything. I came to this city here busted, disgusted, without a pot, a window, and I had a whole bunch of piss. You know what I mean? So, you know, and I ended up in a shelter. You know, I used to bring home, after taxes, $8,000 a month to nothing. you know, and I was keeping it real, back to that negative stuff. I had people that so-called, I got acquainted with up here, oh, Sin, you hella cool. You know, won't you sell this drug for me? You're sitting on a gold mine, so you know what that means, sell your ass. You know, help me set this person up. You know what I mean? Won't you write a check? This is the stuff I came upon, you know, being in a situation. I was at the fork of the road in my life. I can either be that thirsty and hungry and do this, you know, with the delusion of, I'm gonna get out of it. But see, keep it real, I'm a square with round edges. And once when anybody that's on a good note goes bad, you know me, don't ever come back. And I know a lot of people I came across in my life that had it all going on, and they're lost. They're just walking dead. So much potential is gone. You know, and I didn't want to be a statistic. Now again, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I learned to beg, and I talk a lot of stuff, and a lot of these instructors up here know I'll come in here and beg for some stuff in a minute. You know, they help me, you know what I mean, to go on with my, you know, with my goal. And I'm just being honest here. Yeah. You know, but the thing is, I didn't do it. But in all honesty, I thought about robbing banks. I really wasn't going to set it up. I figured if I'm going to go to jail, I at least want to go to jail with my head up high. You know what I mean? That's not to say, you know, disrespect for anybody who had to do whatever they had to do. I'm only speaking for me. You know what I mean? Anybody who's done anything in the past, it doesn't matter. It's just what you're doing right now that counts. So, you know, that's why I'm just encouraging you want to keep it positive. So, and right now I'm running out of things to say. But to wrap it up, I didn't do it. You know what I mean? I was broke. I was on GA food stamps, again, 8,000 and nothing. You know, and there was a lot of head trips. I went through depression. You know, I begging for God. I'm thinking I'm cursed. I went through all the steps. You know what I mean? And once when I had to fall back, you know what I mean? Living in a shelter, being told what to do, which is also hard for a person like me because I like to give orders, I don't like taking them. But it was a humbling experience. You know what I mean? I learned to appreciate things a lot more. I learned to respect, you know, people a lot more, and it also reinforced not to judge. You don't know what somebody has been through in their life and what shoes they're walking through. You know, that's what it taught me. So, you know, the thing is, just again, it's reinforcement, just don't give up. So for all the people that are here that are instructors, well, mainly for our students, you know, that are here, because there's a lot of people that are going through stuff every day, but the thing is, you're here, you know what I mean? And we're all here to be somebody, you know, and become successful in whatever that is. So, just don't give up. Thank you.
A can-do attitude is better than doing nothing at all. Thank you, Cynthia. Our next speaker, our final speaker, is a woman who is a student here. She majors in pre-law. Another extraordinary woman. Please welcome to the podium, Tommy Escosego.
Thank you, greetings. When I was asked to speak today, I started going in through some of the voices that are not always the most positive that we have in our heads. And I felt like I don't have anything worthy right now to come up here as a successful woman. And after relooking and reviewing things, I said, what can I bring right here, right now? And there's two concepts, or an overall concept about success that I will start with. I am successful because I'm self-defined. I am successful because I say what is successful to me. And although I've had different mindsets through my life, I have voices still that say, well, you don't make this amount of money, okay? Or, you know, you're driving a car, and if so-and-so hadn't helped you get that, you wouldn't even have a car, okay? So I go through my comparisons of that mindset that I've been conditioned by the world as to where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to have. And sometimes looking through that, I don't come out so successful. But when I become not only self-defined, but I self-define my own success, okay, then I find that my actions will also follow, and that I will truly feel the success inside and out when it's my own self-defined success that I'm talking about, rather than what the world or certain institutions, including the school, your parents, the church, whoever. So I decided that yes, I am successful today simply because I'm here and right now. The other is that the enthusiasm has to be one of the main components of success. You have enthusiasm about what you do. The position that I'm in right now, I lost a little list, by the way, that says what we're supposed to talk about. But the position is that approximately a year and a half ago, I was the director of an agency called Proyecto Come and Touch. And this agency does trips into women's prisons and really seeks to, or used to, because it doesn't exist anymore, to do leadership training for women who are coming out on parole. And we do that leadership training by teaching self-advocacy in one of the hardest systems to navigate. If you can navigate that system, the correctional system, through the accepted and recommended channels, you can navigate anything. And so I came here to Merritt to find new struggles. You know, it's like the solutions have not all been laid out for me. It's not paved with gold, and sometimes there's no money to sweep off the street. But I have found mentors. I have found different definitions, and relatively speaking, a lot of what my struggles have been since, you know, as a child. I'm from Texas, I'm from El Paso. And at 14, I knew that I was a lesbian and I dressed in boys' clothes. And so that's been one of my long external struggles. But I'm here to speak both on the external and the internal. Because when those external struggles, whether you win or lose them, it's what you learn from them. And if they make you stronger, and if they make you more self-defined. So on that note, I'd like to say that today I am successful because I'm self-defined and have self-determination. Thank you.